Watch fam. What is up, Watch fam? Wow, I should coffee and I almost just choked. And welcome to episode 94 of Ask T&H. I am Christian from Theo and Harris. Before we jump into today's episode, let's do a quick wristwatch check. I'm wearing an absolutely gorgeous vintage Omega Seamaster. I love the gold indices and the Dauphine hands here. I'm a huge sucker for Seamasters, like really big fan. So I think they represent just the perfect vintage piece. You know, I think that's a big statement, but at their price point and their kind of classic design, plus just the overwhelmingly positive history of Omega. Anyway, I want to give a big shout out right now before we get into the question finally to Hunter, our new editor of Ask T&H. Anna is no longer going to be editing these videos, which is pretty crazy, almost 100 episodes in, but Hunter is going to be doing a terrific job. He already has been. So let's give it a big round of applause for Hunter because he's the new member of the T&H fam. Anyway, let's jump into the questions and let's do some watch talk. Okay, this question I deal with a lot. The question was, should I hold out for my birth year watch? Let's start by this. Let's start by me being totally honest in saying I don't really care for birth year watches, right? And does that influence my opinion a little bit? It does, but it's really separate. I'm really not, you know, just speaking as to my opinion on this or like my personal preference. I really like to talk about you guys, and I'm going to answer this question as such. I don't think that birth year watches can be a deal breaker, as in if it's not a birth year, right, you shouldn't get it. But I do think they could be a deal maker. If you're looking for terrific date just, for example, let's say you were born in 1977 and there just so happened to be a blue dial 1976 and a black dial 1977 at the same price, and you're not sure which one to go with because of color or whatever, and you're a birth year watch guy, I could see you 100%, you know, going for the black dial 1977. Say even if the black dial 76 was a better buy with price, even though it's way rarer than the silver dial 77, I'm okay with you ponying up a little bit more money, even though it doesn't make much sense because it's just a silver dial date just. There's no reason to spend the extra couple $100, but I'm okay with that X factor. I get it. But where I really get into a problem here, and this is coming from someone, you know, me, that hunts for watches 6 days out of the week, if not 7. I know how hard it is to find watches. For example, a client reached out and wanted a blue Datejust. And I looked for said blue Datejust for like 3 weeks. I mean, it took that long. Why? Because I wanted a quality example. I wanted something that wasn't, you know, polished at all, and if it was, just so slightly. I wanted something with lugs that had integrity. I wanted something that I could service easily, not something that's a total fix-up project that ends up being a Frankenwatch. To me, that's not the spirit of vintage Rolex. I wanted something with a dial that was not only original, which is huge these days because unoriginal blue dials are everywhere. I mean, the mass market of blue dials is made up of unoriginal dials. And this was so difficult to find this watch for this guy. It drove me nuts. And blue dial Datejust are one of my favorite watches. So to me, I was like, oh my God, finally I got one. But if that birth year element went into it, I would have had to respectfully, you know, decline the offer for the watch, which is like so up, right? Because how could I say, you're like, no, I'm going to pass up. Like, no, I'm not going to help you out. You know, no, I'm not going to help my business and help you find a great watch. But when it comes to birth year watches, a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, the undertaking is just massive. I'm talking about months and months of looking for something, and ultimately, I'm not going to charge you a massive premium because you're not going to pay it. You know, you're not going to pay $3,700 for a Datejust, you know, because it took me forever to find it. So for you and I, like in that scenario, it just doesn't work out. And I think that the consumer, miss out on so many amazing opportunities to own so many brilliant watches that were a year ahead or a year behind, or that even 3 years ahead or behind. Don't pass up on amazing opportunities to own watches that, you know, you can own that are becoming increasingly more rare, especially in the Rolex field, because you're looking for a birth year. In my opinion, totally how I view it. I just think that you'd really be doing yourself a disservice as far as collecting and all that to do something like that. Personally, I look for decade, era. I look for styles that were, you know, kind of really specific to a certain period of time. And if you want a vintage 1601, to me, it's not about the year. And it can be for you. I have no problem with that. But I do want to tell you that you are hindering yourself in a lot of ways. You're making it much harder for yourself, and typically much more expensive for yourself to find a great watch. So no, I'm not a birth year watch guy. I was born in 1995. I probably will never own a birth year watch, right? Because it was 95. What the fuck was made then, right? And if I did, maybe it'd be a longer one, maybe just that. But as a whole, I think that you guys need to just chill out a little bit. And I'm not saying like you're dumb or your priorities are all fucked up, because I don't mean that. But don't drive yourself so nuts. If it's a hunt and you just love hunts, that's fine. Like if that's like the hobby for you is made up of just hunting for crazy shit that's like obscure and you're not gonna find it, that's great. Like props to you. But when you're going out to a dealer and he doesn't have that watch, and you're going to put him on a wild goose chase for this watch, the odds are you're going to just end up having to jump through so many hoops. You're going to put the dealer through so many hoops. The person, if they're going to do it, they're going to charge you a huge amount of money, or they're being super kind. Otherwise, it's just never going to happen. That's basically it. I respect your desire to have one, but weigh out the I guess difficulties, weigh out what you have to go through to get one. Don't just think, oh, it'd be cool to have a 1975 date just. It's not that easy. Thank you guys for watching episode 94 of Ask TNH. Hope you guys have an awesome day.